Hi and welcome back to my channel. I want to start with an apology because last week I actually said I was going to go forward and have 3 healthy extra A's and 2 healthy extra B's. That wasn't right. What I meant to say was I was going to go forward and have 3 healthy extra A's and 1 healthy extra B. And that was because I'd fallen out of the bottom of my target. My target range is 8 stone 11 to 9 stone 3 because my actual target's 9 stone, and last week I weighed in at 8 stone 10 and a half, so I needed to gain this week to avoid having to pay and to get back into my target. Hence I increased my healthy extra A's from 2 to 3. So what I've done this week is I've actually used 3 healthy extra A's on milk because I am a massive coffee drinker. That gave me 1.2 litres of milk a day. And I used my cheese every day for sins, so 6 sins a day for cheese. Every day I decided to push my sins to the maximum. I wanted to do this as an experiment. I wanted to see, by using savvy sins, which is what I use, whether I could actually take it to the top of the limits and see just basically where that would take me. So trusting in the plan and knowing that I had £6.5 to play with. Excuse me, still full of cold. Yeah, trusting in the plan and knowing that I had £6.5 to play with to the top of my target from where I actually was. It didn't matter what result I got this week as long as I got a gain. So I did that every day. I generally had my 2 pieces of fruit, but on 3 days I actually had 3 pieces. And to max out my sins, what I did was any extra sins I found myself with at the end of the day, I made myself an extra coffee and used them for milk. I'm not a cake eater, I'm not a crisp eater, I'm not a sweets eater, so I don't have to find space in my sins for things like that. As I've said, I like to go for savvy sins. And for me, savvy sins are things that don't contain sugar or added sugar. So, my week. It's been an interesting week because I sounded a bit rough on last week's video and then went on to get a full-blown, really nasty cold. And when I feel like this, and I'm still full of it now, when I feel like this, there would be a tendency for me today, as a very different person, to drink and drink and drink. And I don't feel hungry, so I'm not desperate for food. The old me would have had a cold and wanted to feed it. You know, they say feed a cold, starve a fever. Well, I was very good at feeding colds even if I didn't have one. So yeah, that was the old me. The new me has had to make myself focus very much this week on sticking to my 3 proper meals, even if I haven't felt like it. And even when I haven't felt like cooking, because Joe's been working quite a lot this week and not been around when I've been having my lunch. And I must admit, if he's around, I'll let him cook because he's a far better cook than I am. But when he's not around, I still have to discipline myself and make myself have a proper meal. Not cut corners and not think I can't be bothered. So this week I have very much focused on having my proper meals. So I haven't cut any corners, haven't left anything out. I've eaten really well and I've eaten properly. Maxed out my sins to 105 for the week, 15 each day. I don't carry any over and claw them back. I don't save them at the start of the week and use them at the end. Yet it's okay to do all of those things if that's what works for you. I can only talk about what works for me, and it's taken me nearly 4 years to get to this place of knowing what works for me. So, yeah, walking. Have I walked much this week? I've averaged 10,000 steps a day. That's normal for me. I don't push myself to do that. It's that is comfortable and it's part of my daily life. And it's generally because I'm walking from A to B to actually achieve something or do something. I don't like go walking on a treadmill. In fact, I'm going to talk about that because it was something that came up in conversation this week. Years ago, I would go and join a gym. Now, where I live, in the area I live in, I could get to a choice of 2 really good, really big gyms within 3 minutes, 2 minutes on foot. They're that close. And one of them is a massive private gym and the membership's like 100 quid a month. The other one is a council run gym and the membership's about 30 quid a month. Do I need them? No. And I'll tell you why I don't. And again, please understand I'm only talking about me. I used to go to a gym and I used to stand around and talk to my friends, and I used to, do a bit of sedentary walking on the treadmill and sit and pedal a bike at this pace, and didn't like the machines. I never lifted a weight, never did any floor exercises, hated the elliptical, all those things. Came away thinking, oh, great, I've been to the gym. And do you know what? Basically, I've done bugger all. I actually did myself more good walking to the gym and back from the gym. And we have quite a laugh because the next turn to where we live is the road to a massive David Lloyd's gym. And you get your Ferraris and you get your Lamborghinis, and there are more massive Porsche and Land Rover four-wheel drives than you can shake a stick at. And some very, very beautiful, attractive people coming in and out of these vehicles. But basically, in our area, it's known as the club. Everybody, if you're in the gang, you go to the club. And we were smiling because relating to actually doing physical exercise, for me, what better thing can I do other than walk? It moves every part of my body. And I think something Joe said to me the other day that is really wise was, what's the human body designed to do, Mum? It's designed to walk. We're made to be walkers. We don't have wheels or casters on the end of our legs. We have feet. And I know for some people, if you're not in a physical position where you can actually get out there and walk, it must be frustrating. I'm in that position as a blind person, so I do understand. I can't just say, when Joe's gone out shortly, well, I'm going to spend the afternoon, I'll go to the park and have a beautiful walk. I don't have that choice. I can ring some friends and say, do you fancy going to the park and having a beautiful walk? But I don't have the choice to just do it on my own. So for anybody with a disability, I do understand. I do have those frustrations myself. But you have to sometimes push beyond them or find a way that works for you. For me, that's ring a friend, went to group, couldn't stay out of choice. Could have stayed and could have thought, won't do the video today, I'll go to group instead. I'm in a good strong place, so I'm happy to come back and get my video up, and I will stay for group next week because I've got the time next week. So busy group, nice to see, lovely to see the sunshine and people actually coming out of their winter coats. So stood in the queue and explained to Kelvin that I was going to go and get weighed, and if I was still out of target, I would come back and pay because that's how it works. Went and stood on the scales and gained £0.5 pound, which is perfect. Gets me back into the target. I'm right at the bottom end at 8 stone 11. I was pleasantly surprised by that because I honestly thought this week that, with a lot of the fears that we share on social media about healthy extras, A's and B's, that, I could well have gained £1.5, £2.5 even. And I had a couple of text conversations with Slimming World friends this week where I said I actually can feel the weight going on. Now I've mentioned this before, I think often my weight problem's up here, not down here. I have to be very careful not to fear things around weight gain and loss. I have to be very careful, especially this week when I was saying to myself, you're going to push this into the max, you're going to have the 3 healthy extra A's. The immediate reaction in my brain was, oh my God, you're going to gain weight. And it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. I don't think even if I've been doing it 10 years, I could say I will never fear gaining weight. But what I have enjoyed this week is the balance and knowing now, after doing this experiment, that I have control over this. I was talking, one was a text conversation, one was a verbal conversation earlier in the week with friends who go to Slimming World, saying that I needed to gain weight. Now, I got 2 very different reactions which really interested me. My first friend's reaction, and she is a fun person and she always sees like the fun side of things, she went, oh sod it, just keep your coat on, wear your shoes, put your purse in your pocket, you'll gain weight. And we had a good laugh about that, but that's not me. I can't do that. And then after we'd laughed about it, she said, you could drink a pint of coffee before you go. You'll gain weight. I can't do that because I am very much an all or nothing person, and I've got to keep it real for me. And we went on in the conversation, and she's very much like, keep your shoes on, we'd already said that, have your coat on, have your purse in your pocket, do all those things. When I actually came away from that conversation, my head was in a whirl and my mind was troubled, because I'm thinking, it's just mental for me to react like that. I just can't do it. I mean, I don't know, can you comment? Could you do that? Do you do that when you need to? Does that sit comfortably with you? Didn't with me. And my other friend in the text conversation said to me, what's your favourite cake? Blueberry muffin, probably. Eat 4 blueberry muffins, you'll be fine. That ain't the answer either. Because for me, well, I don't eat sugar, but for me, eating 4 blueberry muffins to gain weight could be a very start to a very slippery slope, because when would I stop? I might want another 4 tomorrow and the day after and the day after. And do you know what? In all honesty, that's how I got fat. I ate blueberry muffins and pork pie and everything else I wanted. And I can't go back down that road. I know people who are very normal around weight, who've never had any issues, could suddenly say today I'm going to eat 4 blueberry muffins and tomorrow never think about it again and everything goes on fine and the weight doesn't alter. I'm not designed that way. I am an all or nothing person, and I either eat blueberry muffins or don't eat blueberry muffins. And for today, I am so grateful that I don't have a desire to eat that way. I can't mess with food. I think I've got to a place in life where food is nourishment, good food is nourishment, and I don't want to be playing those games anymore. It doesn't give me a thrill. I used to get such a high and such a thrill from thinking about doing things like that, and now it doesn't, because I've got that thing in my head about how I'll feel afterwards, after I've done it. Is it worth it? What about the guilt? I don't want to go there. Just don't want to go there anymore. So I got my £half gain very fairly. Anyway, I'm going to show you a couple of food products that I've been enjoying this week. The first one is pears from Marks and Spencer's. Now you're going to, I forgot the name, Joe.
Gepa.
Gepa, G-E-P-A. These pears are absolute, Joe says they're blush pears, but they are absolutely gorgeous. I'm a big fan of conference pears. The conference pears lately have been a bit disappointing, and then Joe found these in Marks, and these are, they're just lovely. If you're in Marks and Spencer's and you like pears, I would recommend them. I can't quote a price. Do they have a price on them, Joe?
No.
I think they might have been £2.50. And the other thing, when I talk about eating cheese, we don't have cow's cheese in our house because Joe can't have cow's dairy. And he's very much into this cheese, again from Marks and Spencer's. We've never managed to find it anywhere else. It's called Inglewhite, and it's a hard goat cheese. Now on Slimming World you can have 30 grams of this for an A choice. I'm not sure whether I would describe it as an acquired taste, because I think the first time you had it you might think that doesn't taste like cheddar. It's not cheddar. But it also doesn't taste funky. You know, mostly goat cheeses are quite funky. I love feta, which is a goat and sheep cheese, but most goat cheeses are very strange. This isn't. It's really nice, isn't it, Joe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, Joe eats this and he's got me into it. You can only get, I don't know if it comes across on camera how small the piece of cheese is, but you can only get it in this size pieces. And it's about, average is about £2 a piece. But again, if you're in Marks and Spencer's, you want to try something a bit different, it's worth a try. It's really nice. We are told that Tesco sell it, but we've never managed to find it in Tesco's in Nottingham. So. Right, just one more thing I want to talk about before I go, and that is 21st century lifestyle. I was telling Joe earlier in the week about how life was very different when I was a child, like 60 odd years ago. My grandmother, when she was doing the laundry, would boil the copper get the mangle out, which you physically turned. And when you were putting sheets through and your towels, it was hard work. It was a physical workout. She then progressed to an electric mangle, bless her. She thought she'd died and gone to heaven. After that, we had twin tub washing machines, which you literally had to stand over to do your washing. And you lifted your washing out of the washer tub and into the spinner and you rinsed, and physical work again. Then we progressed to the automatic washing machine and the tumble dryer. And the hardest thing about those is bending over to put stuff in and bending over again to get it out, and then taking it out and folding it. And I was trying to give Joe examples of how very different the lifestyle is, in that we don't do so much physical work as we did my mum's generation or my grandmother's generation. And I know a lot of the people who watch my channel are probably nearer to my age than they are to 21. So yeah, I think several people will relate to this. We were also looking at, stuff around the house. I mean, a lot of people would have a steam mop for their hard floors and whatever. Years ago, it was a bucket and a scrubbing brush, and you got down on your hands and knees. And in those days, people had a lot of hard floors, and that lino was very popular after the war. Nowadays, I mean, I've got a hard floor in my kitchen and both my bathrooms, but not through the rest of my house. It's carpets, and the ease of pushing a vacuum cleaner, as opposed to getting down on your hands. Even if you've got like laminate floors and wood floors, very few people today would get down on their hands and knees. And I was trying to sort of get through to Joe that nowadays we have so much, I mean, he's a totally different generation and he understands leisure time much more than I do. But nowadays we're in a lifestyle where we've created so much leisure time. And Joe said, yeah, but all these marvellous things like automatic washing machines, tumble dryers, steam mops, whatever, look at the time it saves us. And I get that, but I also am beginning to see that the time that these things save for me, what do I do with that time? I'm very good at sitting down and reading. I've read 3 books this week, I'm very, very good at sitting down and reading. So what I've been trying to make myself do this week is at least every 20 minutes get up and do something. Because I've been reading a book called Songbird by Birdsong by Sebastian Faulks. And that book had me so engrossed, and I would recommend it to anybody, but look at what it's about before you buy it, because a lot of it is First World War and it's quite harrowing. Not the kind of book I would usually read, but it came highly recommended. Another book I've read this week, Tuesdays with Moray by Mitch Albom. Another good book, but again quite different. But in the time I can sit and read, I can lose myself for a couple of hours. And I'm sitting there and I'm not even so much as moving my fingers. I am physically very still. I'm the kind of person who is physically very still. I like meditating and stuff like that. I'm not a twitchy, jittery. I mean, some of my friends are on the go like this all the time. I'm not. I'm a very still person. And I realised this week, sitting still on my bum is not going to keep me fit and healthy. Disregard the weight loss, it's about health as well, isn't it? And, I've actually made myself, or motivated myself this week to more movement. So I've been like washing out cupboards and things, even cupboards that didn't need doing. The other afternoon I was a bit bored with myself and my mind was going towards food, and I was in a text conversation with my bestie, and I said to her at the time, I disappeared for like 20 minutes, came back and said, I've just done the cupboard out under the kitchen sink, even though it didn't need doing. And it's jobs like that are quick and easy, like I cleaned the cooker yesterday. Things just to be physically moving. And it's all right going to the gym, and some people enjoy that. And if you enjoy it, I think it's wonderful. If you don't enjoy it, it's the biggest chore on this planet. But I can get movement and activity going in my home that is far better for me than just sitting and being sedentary. One of the things that Joe's been encouraging me with for a long time, and I've finally done it, is having, you see it here? This is what you would call a standing desk. Now, I'm a great one again for my keyboard would usually be in this drawer. The front drops down, and then I just have a stool, I type away. And I could sit there for hours when I've got a lot of correspondence to do. I could sit there for 2 or 3 hours just typing. The only thing I'm moving is my fingers. Does me no good at all, because I get up and my back's stiff and I feel crap. Joe's been encouraging me to have a standing desk because he has a proper wind-up big standing desk. And he actually bought me this contraption which turns your keyboard into a keyboard that you can actually stand. You can see from the height of it now, I can stand and type. And the nice thing about it is when I'm standing and typing, I'm moving. My hips are moving, my legs are moving. I'm doing that. I often have music on at the time when I'm doing it as well, so there's a bit of wiggling going on and whatever. But I found this week that has been so useful. Because especially when you're not feeling well, I mean, I've had a cold all week, I could have quite easily just curled up on the settee all week and got the duvet. But I think for me today, just knowing that I can physically move so much easier than I ever used to. When I weighed 22 stone, yeah, I'd have spent the whole week on the settee under the duvet, but I've had about 3 boxes of Maltesers a day with me. Now, at 8 stone 11, feeling great, feeling energised, even though I was feeling quite, chock-a-block with cold and sinusitis, I want to move. I really want to move. So, yeah, looking at the 21st century lifestyle, are the things that we can do in our homes. I mean, as women, we do the housework, we do change the beds and all the usual stuff. But are the little extras that we can do just as an excuse to move every 20 minutes? I know a lot of you will be a lot busier than I am, so you may not have these problems. But the other thing that Joe and I briefly touched on was walking our kids to school. I was saying that when I was a child, very few people had cars. You walked to school, and we had probably a mile walk either way. I walked Joe to school when he was little because, of course, I don't drive. And I applaud anybody who does this, even if they have a choice, to leave the car at home and to walk. Not everybody has a car. Some people are used to walking. But I just think little things like that. And I think this came out of another conversation with a friend who has to get to school half an hour before her kids come out to get a parking space. And I said, what do you do for that half an hour? She said, I just sit and wait. And I thought, I said to her, you could spend that half an hour walking to school and then get your kids a bit of fresh air walking back, especially now the weather's improving. But yeah, I think it's when you've lived in the 20th century for quite a while. I mean, I had 44 years in the 20th century and then 19 years in the 21st century. You do start to see a real contrast between how we used to do things and how we are lucky to be able to do them today. But then we do pay a price for some of that in inactivity. Anyway, that's just my thoughts, my views and my opinions on things I've experienced this week. You may not agree with me, and that's fine. I'd love to see that in the comments. Anything that works for you that might help us. So, going forward, I'm going to stick with the 3 A's. I'm going to stick with 1B. I'm going to stick with 15 sins. I'll see where it takes me next week. But I know I'll enjoy it. And we'll see you next Saturday. Cheers.